XRP is a scam. It's over. It's a shit coin. I should have never have invested. That's what a lot of people are saying. And I don't know if that's how you feel, but it's certainly not how I feel. And in today's video, what I would like to do is have a conversation about my thoughts on XRP, where it's at, and where it's going. And speaking of XRP, in a previous video, I mentioned that I wanted to give away this cool hat, this XRP hat made by Sunnyside Inc., a veteran-owned company out of Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you want this super cool hat, you're going to have to stick around to the end of the video, and I'm going to tell you how you can win this hat. But you have to stick around to the end. If you're new here, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Donnie Joseph, where we talk about crypto, investing, mindset, wealth, health, and all of the above. So let's just jump right in. XRP. If you've been an investor in XRP, I'm sure you've had your ups and downs. Maybe you've been holding for several years. Maybe you're new to the project, but in any event, I feel like right now, and not just XRP, but in the whole crypto space, that the sentiment is down, that people are giving up on projects. And again, not just XRP, but obviously today's video is about XRP, but I don't think that we can highlight this one particular project without looking at the whole, right? Because all projects are down. So I don't necessarily think that it's an XRP thing. And when I read some of these comments that XRP is a scam or that it's a quote unquote shit coin, I don't understand where that narrative comes from. I know that there's people that are super pro XRP, and then there's those that are super anti XRP. I'm a firm believer in the project. That's why I invest my money in it. Excuse me, I invested from the moment that I did my research and believed in what they were doing all the way up until it hit an all-time high because I was dollar cost averaging. And I've been investing all the way down. And I will continue to invest in XRP, whether it's at today's prices or whether it drops to $1.07, whether it drops to 94 cents, whether it drops to 83 cents. I will continue to buy because I believe in Ripple as a company, and I believe that XRP, I believe that it was designed to be a part of our future financial system. Now, I don't know if it's going to be the whole way that all money moves. I don't know that, but I think that it's going to play a very significant role in how money moves in the future. And with that being said, the word future means that it may not happen now. And I'm okay with that. Now, but here's the thing. I think a lot of us, myself included, I think we had expectations for some price appreciation this year, or I should say at the end of 2025. I think when we saw that run up at the end of 2024, that we got excited and we said, okay, this is it. And then you couple that with all of these influencers that were telling people that XRP is going to $10,000. They're hyping up this narrative that, you know, what it's going to do and all of this stuff. And I don't know that anybody really knows. I don't know that anybody knows where the price is going to be at. I have my beliefs that XRP will be a high price at some point once adoption takes place. But how long does it take for adoption to take place? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I wish I had the answer. But going back to what I was saying is that I think a lot of us, and like I said, myself included, we had expectations. And when those expectations weren't met, some people gave up. I was a little disappointed. I had plans, right? I was like, man, I'm going to invest this money. I'm going to be able to pull some profits. I'm going to put the money here and get some money off the table. And And none of that necessarily played out. And not only did it not play out, but I look at my portfolio and it's down 50%, you know? So, um, that it's natural to feel disappointed. But as I work on building my wealth and investing and studying and learning, I also understand that wealth isn't really built quickly. It takes time and it takes accumulation and it takes investing when most people are scared. And right now, I don't know what the fear and greed index is, but I think it's under 10. It's fairly down in the dumps where people are feeling about crypto. And so to me, that's the perfect time to be an investor, to get the prices when they're undervalued. And so again, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about was expectation. And I was fortunate to go to the Freedom Conference last week with the 3T Warrior Academy. And one of the presenters, Johnny Crypto, who is on the Good Evening Crypto show, he gave an amazing presentation. And one of the things that he did was shared a chart of, I believe it was Amazon. Don't quote me on it, but I believe it was Amazon. And where the chart essentially showed the timeline and the run up of Amazon's along the course of Amazon's price appreciation. And there was like the early stages where there was, you know, the normal stuff, the up and down, the pullbacks. And then there was a huge run up. And that was what he called the speculation phase. And after the speculation phase had ended, there was a significant drop before adoption took place. And that's when we really saw the run up with Amazon. Again, don't quote me, but I believe it was Amazon that he was sharing. And so, but the gap in that was like a 12-year timeline. It took some time for Amazon to really do what it's done from a price appreciation standpoint. And when we look at XRP, and he used XRP as an example, and he overlaid or compared the charts of what XRP has done, it made me realize how early we are. And I think with the excitement and the belief that we have in this project and kind of knowing what it's going to do, I think it's natural to want it to just take off and do what it's going to do. But again, when we zoom out, I think it's going to take time. And that's okay, because as an investor, I'm not looking at this as a get rich quick or an overnight thing that I think that, you know, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and XRP is going to be at $100. I don't think that that's going to play out. If it did, I would be super happy. I would celebrate. But I think, again, that for this to really do what it needs to do, is just going to take time to unfold. And zooming out, and again, when people are giving up on XRP or on crypto as a whole, I think we have to look at this. I look at Ripple as the company. Okay. I look at all of the projects in the crypto space, and Ripple, I believe in the company. I see what they're doing. I realize that they have almost 2,000 non-disclosures signed with various companies around the world. If any projects in the crypto space right now, I would argue that XRP/Ripple is one of the most solidified projects, one of the ones that I feel the most certain about, because of what they're doing, because of what they're building, because of the moves that I see that they're making. I've invested in other projects like Cardano and Algorand and HBAR and all of these things. And some of those projects I firmly believe in as well, but I also believe that it's going to take time. But when I compare apples to apples, I can't help but acknowledge that XRP is just leading the bunch by, I mean, they are just way out front. And I think time will prove that. And again, I'm not here to hype up XRP. I'm not like, I'm just like you. I'm an investor just like you. This channel is not about hyping things up. Not trying to sell a false narrative. I'm just here to give perspective and have a conversation. And I would be careful on following influencers that are continuously hyping up these projects, whether it's XRP or any other. Because I even noticed some of the guys that I was following, it was like everything was like continuously leading me to another thing. And then that thing would happen. And it was like, yeah, well, but this. And then it was like, okay, well, once this happens, and then that thing would happen. It's like, okay, now we have to wait for ISO 222 to come in. Okay, boom, that happened. Well, now we have to wait for, and it's like, I'm not here to sell a story, you know? And I think that some of these influencers are continuously selling a story. And look, it sells. It's sexy. It gets people to click. It is exciting. It gets you a little dopamine hit. It makes you feel good about investing in this project. But I think where we're at right now, and again, with the sentiment in the crypto space, that it's okay just to be real. And it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I am a little disappointed. But then to actually remember, well, why did I invest in this project? Did I invest in this project because I'm trying to get rich quick? Or am I investing in this project because I'm really trying to create generational wealth? And I understand that in building wealth, it takes time and discipline and patience and a little bit of a stomach and being able to handle volatility. Because I guarantee you that any of the people that we look at that we might say, hey, these are like legit investors, Warren Buffett, any of the Robert Kiyosaki, any of the big guys, it didn't happen overnight. It did not happen overnight. It's a slow process, and that's okay. Because again, and I've heard this example before, it's like people will work for 20 years in a career that they're miserable in, but they won't sacrifice 3 to 6 years in investing to completely change their life. 10 years, who cares? They'll go to work every day for 20 years, miserable, clocking in, clocking out, 8 hours a day for nothing. But they're not willing to sit tight and invest and let things play out. And if it takes 3, 6, 9, 10 years, you're still way ahead of the game. And again, I promised you this cool hat. And so right now I'm going to tell you, if you drop a comment and you leave the word XRP Warrior in the comments, 2 words, XRP Warrior in the comments, that tells me you've watched this far and you want to win the hat. So you have to comment XRP Warrior in the comments, and I will pick a winner to ship this hat to. So good luck with that. But anyways, yeah, you know, I don't know. Let me know how you feel about where you're at with XRP. Is it a scam? Do you believe in it? Are you a long-term holder? I'm a long-term holder, you know, and that's on my own beliefs. That has nothing to do with what anybody else is saying. I hear what they're saying. I take in bits and pieces, but I also use my own discernment. I also use logic and understanding and life experience and process these things and say, okay, does this make sense? And I'm accumulating as much information as I can, but I'm not like following these false narratives and hoping. Like my investment strategy is not based around hope at all. 0. And if you've gotten into XRP because you're hoping, I don't know that that's the correct strategy, because that's no different than going and buying a lotto ticket and hoping. That's gambling. And if we're investing, that's different from gambling. We don't want to be gambling. You should go into meme coins if you want to do gambles, and again, none of this is financial advice. I'm not telling you to go and invest in meme coins, but I've shared this on a previous video and I'll drop it here again. When I look at companies that I'm investing with, and this is what I do with XRP, I look at Ripple, the organization. I look at the people at the top. I think Brad Garlinghouse is doing an amazing job. I see what they've been up against with dealing with the SEC, all of the red tape that was put there. And I go back to a conversation that I had with David Schwartz. I was fortunate to have a conversation with him online about my belief in XRP. And through the conversation, I felt even better about investing in XRP. I didn't ask him what price that he thought it would go to. I didn't ask any of that. And he didn't share any of that. But what we did talk about was more down-to-earth things. We talked about some of the books that we've read. We've talked about life, investing, and he made me feel good that as somebody that designed XRP and I felt like there was a genuineness of a good person, when I invest in businesses or I even look at people that I want to hire or people that I want to have relationships with, I look at good people. And again, the takeaway from the conversation that I have with him, I felt like he was a genuinely good person, which made me feel even better about investing in XRP and believing in Ripple. And there were some lines that he shared with me without saying that it made me feel really good on my long-term belief in XRP. So there were some things that he said that made me feel like I was on the right track. Again, obviously I'm not going to ask him what price he thinks it's at, but he stated before, for XRP to be utilized the way that it's intended, it's designed to be a high price. Simple as that. And so if it's designed to be a high price, do you think that banks and countries and people are going to use this XRP to, move money and at like $2 or $1.50 or even lower than that? No, it has to be a higher price. I don't even think it's going to be 100. I believe it'll be higher than that. I believe it'll be higher than $100. I believe it will be in time a much higher price than what, not even close to where it's at right now. But I don't know. That's my belief. I have faith in that, based on, again, the research that I'm doing. And then I look at the news that dropped the other day where like Goldman Sachs revealed that their top, or I don't know if it was their top 4, but they talked about their holdings. And I think they had BTC, Solana, Ethereum, and XRP. Do you think a financial institution of that magnitude that is handling billions and trillions of dollars is going to invest in XRP if there's not something there? I mean, it just doesn't make sense if it's a scam or if it's a quote unquote shit coin or, so anyways, I'm just at the point now where I'm just like mindlessly going through my thoughts, but these are some of the thoughts that I have. Let me know your thoughts. What do you believe about XRP? Let me know in the comments. If you made it this far, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you. Please leave a comment, engage, like, share with somebody. Believe it or not, your support in engaging with the content actually really helps the algorithm. It's very hard for newer channels like this to get out there and open up our views, but as there's engagement, that definitely helps. So again, I appreciate you. And until next time, I hope you're well.